Here we see version V2.1 on its first outing, and we're now testing the skid steer steering system with the Oct2020 weeder harrows raking the gravel very nicely. You can see here that the skid steer does in fact work relatively well, although there's always going to be a slight compromise with ag tyres, but they probably give better traction and cleaning ability than smoother tyres. And we can see the wheels actually reversing, but the tines are also resisting this, so it's always going to be a little tricky. But fundamentally, the steering system with this type of harrow does work. Here we can see the robot working on pasture, and at this point we decide to lower the harrow to increase the pressure on the ground, and initially it does seem to have some influence on the work rate, but later on the machine seems to restore back to its normal speed. Turning is possible with the skid steer on grassland, although the ag tyres do make a mark. Probably wouldn't be a big issue on grassland, but it would be in a turf environment. Here we can see the tines scoring relatively deeply into the grassland and removing the thatch, and doing indeed exactly what they're supposed to do. Now the machine's picked up speed and working its normal rate again. Turns relatively well, and the wheels reversing as they should in a skid steer turn. So here the robot is working on heavy clay cultivated to a depth of about 4 inches, and this is a day after heavy rain, and you can see that the wheels are running remarkably clean and traction is quite good, and we've got quite a bit of pressure onto the springtime harrows, although the machine probably wouldn't be worked in this situation because it can't really have an effect on the large clots, but we wanted to show it in difficult terrain and turning. Sometimes the stalls in the turn, I believe, are due to the interface between the operator and the control. It's not necessarily a fault with the actual machine, it's the fineness of touch required on the controls. I've found that the best way to turn is to nudge the turning rather than to just hold it over. So here we can see the machine turning into work with the tools raised. We're now going to lower down the tools and start to cultivate some stubble as a straw harrow. So this could be used as a weed seed chitter, and is used quite a bit currently as a common practice with larger machines. So tools lowered into work, and off we go. We can see that the machine moves quite easily. There's plenty of power and there's no skidding or hesitation. Any of the skids or stalls that you've seen really are usually in the turn. Here we can see a turn, just experimenting with the controls and the turn to see how it performs. This stalling is down to turning rather than just stalling work. As you can see here, it progresses quite nicely in a straight line. I felt the motors and the cabling, no overheating issues. And this is where we started.
Voila.
Lovely. And then the lifting of the tine bit. Excellent. Well done, David. Splendid. I'll send that round to everybody.
And it actually moves.
How do you mean it moves?
Well, we tried it backwards and forwards.
Oh, it drives, does it?
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, that isn't it? Achievement. Well done, David.